Welcome back, I am John P. Today we are going to be talking about the Omega Swatch Speedmaster collaboration. Now, so many people are talking about this, but the reality is I didn't plan on really making a comment on this. So many people have been talking about this and there's so many opinions out there that I just didn't think that it really made sense for me to really add to it because there's been so much excitement. But on my Instagram, The Real John P, I've been asked so many questions about this and what I think is going to happen. And I feel obligated at this point to really throw my hat in the ring because I talk about Omega watches so much on this channel. And I think what is happening here, or what may happen with this watch release, could seal the future for Omega watches as a brand for the collecting community. Now just hang on one second and I'll cover that just in a bit on exactly what I mean and why I think Omega could really be, unfortunately, hurting themselves if this is not properly executed. On the wrist today, I have a Breguet Classique with Tiffany dial. I was into the Tiffany dial much before the Tiffany color dials with Rolex and Patek Philippe ever were released as a Breguet watch. Tiffany dial. You can see more about this on my Instagram, The Real John P, as well. Please do not forget to check out delraywatch.com, where we have so many cool, interesting watches that we work tirelessly to bring to you as fellow watch enthusiasts. So, without further ado, my comments on the Omega Speedmaster Swatch collaboration. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably know this watch comes out. Endless amounts of videos out there and content focusing on this collaboration, this $260 quartz-driven Omega Speedmaster of Swatch quality to be released from Swatch boutiques. Limited number of the watches from the Swatch boutiques actually tomorrow, at least compared to the shooting of this video, as long as this video does get uploaded. So this will be on Saturday. These will be released at these boutiques. Now people are lining up around the corners in circles and spirals around these buildings and boutiques waiting for this watch release. It's expected and anticipated that these watches will be selling in the aftermarket, in the secondhand market, for several times the retail price point, which is $260 US, or the equivalent depending on the location that you're in. Now, this is interesting for so many reasons. One, I think the watches look cool, right? These are not going to be the highest quality watches that exist, certainly not compared to the Omega Speedmaster Professional watch that is produced by Omega themselves in stainless steel or other metals. It's not going to be compared to itself, but it gets you that Speedmaster look and feel for a fraction of the price if you can get one. But because there are so many people that anticipate these are going to be worth several times the retail price, the demand is just absolutely through the roof. Now, I think this can be a good thing, right? It's bringing a lot of attention to the Omega brand, which they've really been soaking up in recent times. Just a few weeks ago, they announced these Oyster Perpetual, Rolex Oyster Perpetual competitors. They already have the Aquaterra line, but now they have a 38 with these colorful dials reminiscent of the colorful dial Rolex Oyster Perpetuals, and that set the internet on fire in the watch collecting community. Now we have this with demand through the roof, people lining up, and even in some cases, maybe trying to incentivize the workers at the Swatch boutiques to kind of set aside a few of these watches. Now, if the watches are readily available and watch collectors can get their hands on them without having to pay several times the retail price, this is amazing because clearly people love them. You can see it online, see it on the forums, see it people talking on Instagram and responses here and there. Collectors seem to really love this watch, but knowing the collector community so well, because I work with so many of you at Del Rey Watch, and of course out there in the world I bump into a lot of people that collect watches, I know that if these watches run out and they're not readily available for the people that truly want them as collectors and we're not willing to camp out, which in many cases you have to do, if they're not on the shelves and people can't buy them, this is going to leave a very bad taste in the collectors' mouths, right? This is exactly what happened with Rolex. This is what happened with Patek Philippe. This is what has happened with certain models from some other brands. And the Omega collector within the last few years because I've been talking about Omega now for a few years and really giving them a lot of praise at attracting and retaining the watch collector community. One of the main selling points of Omega watches is you get the quality of Rolex, sometimes even better, not only at a better price point, but aside from that, you can actually walk into a boutique or an authorized dealer for the most part, certainly pre-COVID and even getting back into today, you can buy the watches. And so if we see Omega kind of biting off that Rolex mentality or that more luxury goods status symbol mentality and start releasing the watches even from this more approachable end as more of like a hype beast kind of fashion pop icon kind of a thing instead of focusing on the collectors are going to do an entire about face and put them on the hit list, much like Rolex and Patek Philippe have to a certain degree. Now, there are still going to be the people that are going to get lucky and get the watch, even if there is a limited supply. And there still are going to be the people that will just pay several times the retail. But once again, the loyal Omega enthusiasts, leave this in the comments below, but I hear it and I see it all the time. I go through all of the comments, every video that I release. The loyal Omega enthusiasts seem to be those that enjoy the fact you can actually buy the watch. So if you can't buy these watches, I think this is really going to hurt Omega. And when the Omega Aquaterra 38 in the colorful dials are actually hitting the stores, they're not out yet. You cannot buy them at the boutiques or the authorized dealers. I've actually, tried. I really like the 38 Aquaterra in the saffron dial. If the same thing happens there, the loyal Omega enthusiasts are just not going to like it, and they'll search for the other brands that want to focus on them. Even if you can buy some of the other models, the most desirable models, this is what is going to hurt Omega if you can't walk into the store and buy the watch. And that was one of the main selling points for the Omega watches for the enthusiasts. Now, I can say this all day, but what I do hope that happens here with this release is I really do hope that Omega and Swatch produced thousands and thousands of these watches so that they're on the shelves, right? So that you can walk in, whether you're an enthusiast or you're not an enthusiast, you buy it as an impulse buy, and maybe this introduces you to the world of watch collecting, right? Maybe this $260 entry-level watch that's quartz driven, you put it on your wrist and you're like, you know what? I would wonder what it would be like to actually wear the original Omega Speedmaster or one of the variants of it. And you kind of get into watch collecting that way. So I really do hope that that is the intent here for Omega, because if they do take that other road of releasing things that are created of obtainium, this will only hurt Omega with the watch collecting community, which has been ultra loyal to them the last few years. And it would show that Omega really does intend on taking the brand outside of the collector community and focusing more on the luxury good enthusiast buyer. But what do you guys think? Do you have your opinions on what's going to happen with the Omega Speedmaster Swatch release? I would love to see it and hear it in the comments below. Personally, I actually would really like to have one of these watches. I don't know how much over retail that I would pay, but I just think they're cool, interesting, and a watch that you could probably wear anywhere and do anything with, and it lets you have kind of a fantasy Speedmaster that wouldn't have otherwise been produced. What do you think? Love to see it and hear it. Comments below. Thanks, guys. You've been chatting with John P.